Want to pass back that way? So my name is Ted Green. I was recently asked to be the legislative consultant for your chamber. I serve as the legislative consultant for about 6 different chambers of commerce, Hollywood Chamber, West Hollywood Chamber, the West Side Council of Chambers of Commerce, which is made up of 13 chambers of commerce, including this one. So my responsibility is the advocacy part of your chamber's mission statement to help make you aware of legislation that is going to potentially affect you in your business lives or in your personal life. And my specific assignment this morning is to talk about legislation in Sacramento without boring you to death. Although I guess if you were ever to bore an audience to death, this is the place to do it. There's my joke for the morning. My little cemetery joke. Okay, so what I have passed out is some information on 3 bills that I'm going to talk about this morning. And if you are so moved to share your opinion with your legislators on this legislation, on the second page there's information on how you can do it. I want to start first with kind of where we are in the legislative session. So I'm sure everyone knows for a bill to become a law in California, it has to pass the Assembly, the State Senate, then be signed by the governor. The legislature meets for a 2-year session. We're in the first year of the 2-year session. And bills have to move through the legislature according to a certain calendar. They started in January of this year. Where we are right now in the calendar, I guess it's the best part of the year. It's the end of summer recess for the legislature. So for the last month, they haven't been meeting in Sacramento, but they'll be back in Sacramento starting next Monday, August 12th. And there's 1 month left for the legislature to meet, and then after that, there's a month for the governor to either sign or veto bills. So the bills that I'm talking about today have all moved through the first house of the legislature. They're in the second house of the legislature, and they're either going to pass in the next month or they're going to die. So if you want to make your opinion known to your legislators, your assembly member, your state senator, now's the time to do it, because these bills are going to live or die in the next month. The first issue is the AB 5, which deals with independent contractors. Is there anyone here in the room who either works as an independent contractor or hires independent contractor to do work for you or your business? Okay, so a few of you. So this bill is one you need to pay attention to. There was a California Supreme Court decision that basically made it almost impossible to hire workers as independent contractors. That was called the Dynamex decision. Prior to the Dynamex decision, there was sort of a 9-point test to determine whether a worker could be considered an independent contractor rather than an employee and get all the benefits that come with being an employee. The California Supreme Court threw out those 9 points and created a new 3-point test, which is detailed here in this document here. Basically, the concern from the business community is these 3 points make it virtually impossible for independent contractors to be considered independent contractors. And as businesses, in hiring an independent contractor, you run the risk that on down the road they're going to say, well, you know what, I really was an employee and I should have been treated as an employee, and they can pursue a claim against you. So what AB 5 does, interestingly, so what's the response from the legislature? What AB 5 does is it basically codifies that Supreme Court decision. It says, yes, we're going to take this 3-point test, that's going to be the law, and you can only be a contractor, independent contractor, if you meet all 3 points of this test. What the business community in response has said is, we have this economy that's ever evolving and changing, that's not really workable for us. So what the legislature has been doing has been carving out specific professions in the bill that are not going to be covered by AB 5 operating, licensed repossession agencies, construction and industry contractors, and those, quote, those performing work under a contract for professional services, which means they have a professional license or certificate issued by the state of California. So if you're in one of those fields, you've been exempted from this bill. If you're not in one of those fields, you are not exempted by this bill. And one of the challenges is, in an ever-evolving economy, how do we know today what the workplace of a year, 5 years, 10 years from now is going to look like? If this is an issue that you're particularly interested in addition to sharing your opinion with your assembly member and your state senator, you can join what's called the I'm Independent Coalition, which is a coalition that was started by the California Chamber of Commerce to advocate to allow the continued use of independent contracting in California. When I'm done, I'm going to take questions. So if you have questions on that bill, let me go through the other two and then we can come back to it. The second bill on the second page is AB 161. Who here is part of a business that issues paper receipts? Anyone do paper receipts? All right, well, we all receive paper receipts, right, in our lives. So I don't know if there's anyone here from CVS or Home Depot. I'm going to pick on you. So we've all been to CVS or Home Depot and gotten that ridiculous receipt. So what is the legislature's response to this ridiculous receipt? Basically to ban them. So what this bill, if it passes, would say is that as of the year 2022, 2.5 years from now, businesses can only print a receipt if it's requested by the customer. It cannot have any coupons or advertisements on it, and the receipt cannot contain bisphenol A or bisphenol S. Now don't ask me the difference between bisphenol A and bisphenol S, but that's the chemical that receipt paper is treated on so that the heating element, when you get a receipt, it's not actually printed on the paper, there's a heating element that creates the images that you see. That's all going to be illegal. So starting in 2022, businesses will have to replace their receipt creation system and have a new way of providing receipts upon request to customers. And if you have even a message like "Have a nice day" at the bottom of your receipt, that may not be compliant with the ban on only information essential to the transaction. Is to say "Have a nice day" essential to the transaction? Probably not. It's a nice thing to say. So that's the paper receipts bill. And finally, AB 1055. Who here is part of a business that pays into the unemployment compensation fund? Probably any business with employees should be concerned about this bill. So existing law provides unemployment insurance for employees who are out of work through no fault of their own. Laid off, business goes out of business or whatever. You have to wait 1 week before qualifying for unemployment payments. If you go out on strike currently, you're not eligible for unemployment insurance. You and your union have decided to go out on strike. This bill changes it and says after a 2-week waiting period, employees on strike, voluntarily on strike, will qualify for unemployment benefits. A couple concerns with that bill. California's unemployment insurance fund is the least solvent of any state's unemployment insurance fund in the nation, and this is going to potentially add more people applying for unemployment benefits. This bill also changes the dynamics between workers and employers in terms of a strike situation. So those are 3 bills that I wanted to call to your attention today. As I said, they're all going to either live or die between August 12th and September 13th when the legislature goes into recess for the year. They'll come back January 2021. I urge you to communicate with your assembly member and your state senator. I can assure you lots of other interests are as well. If you don't know who your assembly member or your state senator is, I can tell you the people outside the window, if they were registered to vote, and they're not because it's not Chicago, but if they were registered to vote, their assembly member would be Richard Bloom, and their state senator would be Ben Allen. So if you live in this immediate area, those are your two legislators. If you live elsewhere and come here for work, you can look up who your legislators are using the URL. You just put your address in, and it'll tell you who they are. You can click on their link. It'll take you to your legislator's website. You can send them a message. You can call their office. You can write an old-fashioned letter, put a stamp on it. Those actually get paid a lot of attention to because people don't do that anymore. With that, I'm happy to answer any questions. Yes, sir.
So in regards to the 80-10-55,
Yeah.
So, you know, I'm a small employer, have some people that work for me. But this potentially, even for someone like me, I mean, they don't ever believe on trade disputes, that obviously doesn't happen, we're just not big enough. But ultimately, you're saying that my unemployment burden could increase because now we're going to fund other employers who do have these issues.
Exactly. Because that's how the unemployment insurance fund works, right? Everyone pitches into the pool, and then those who are unemployed can take money from that pool. So yeah, your rates could be impacted because workers at other companies are now going on strike and applying for unemployment benefits after 2 weeks of being on strike.
Well, in California, with their solvency issues with this, I mean, I can't see how every employer's rates would not be increased.
Exactly. Exactly. Other questions?
161.
Yes, sir.
The $300, is it per violation or as a total?
It's per year. So if you're caught giving out a paper receipt with bisphenol A or bisphenol, what is it, S, your maximum exposure is $300. And I think there are some businesses who are likely to say, you know what, it's going to cost me X thousands of dollars to replace my cash register, however I generate paper receipts, so I'm just going to pay the fine. Other businesses, even if that doesn't make sense, you know, they're not going to want to be a bad business that's knowingly violating the law and being hassled over those violations. But it's currently capped at $300. And that was done to reduce business concerns over the bill. Thank you very much.
Any police? No. It's over 500 killings that happened. And nobody seems to care about it. Nobody. Nothing that they're doing.
Well, we won't be able to solve it here at the chamber.
I came to see Jackie Lacey. I came to see Jackie Lacey. I'm devastated. She cannot hide. Everywhere she goes, I will show up. I don't care how much money I have to pay to get in. I will be there. I need answers. That was my only child. My only child. And I'm hurt. It's been 3 years, and I cannot rest. And I won't stop until Jackie Lacey does her job.
It's understandable. I am very sorry for your loss.
That's all everybody says. But somebody can do something. Because like if it was your child, one of you guys' child, somebody been did something already. It's always black and brown being murdered and nobody gives a damn. We are human too. My baby girl, she had a little boy. He misses his mama. It broke me down. That's why I'm here today, because I seen with the Facebook and he posted a picture of his mama saying, "Don't never forget my mom. That's why Jackie Lacey must go."
Why do we all think Jackie Lacey didn't show up today?
She knew I would be here. She knew I was going to be here.
Why is it on Lisa Hines and the mothers of these children to be the one to ask for her to take responsibility? To all of us who vote her in, to all of us who haven't had our kids killed, when are we going to stand up and ask for her to take responsibility for this? When is she going to prosecute the killers of Riddell Jones?
Yeah. Rosario Matt. Keisha Michaels. Keisha Michaels was murdered sitting in her car asleep. The police shot that girl 32 times. She in the car asleep. Now how do you start shooting at somebody that's asleep? 32 don't respond, wake up, they start shooting them. If you're scared, you have a uniform on, a police officer uniform, if you're scared, you shouldn't be wearing it. Because you should be able to de-escalate a situation. Not make it, not escalate it.
I agree.
They murdered my daughter. They didn't even have the courage to tell me she was dead. I had to call the police station for 4 days before somebody told me. They kept telling me she was, they didn't know where she was. They couldn't locate her. They were trying to find her whereabouts in their police station. You know why? They were getting their cover story together. Because it was a massive cover-up. How you don't know where a person is when you arrested them and they're under your lock and key? They're in your house now, but you don't know where they are. She can't go nowhere. You have to let her out the cell. You have to unlock that cell and let her out. If she don't have the key. So how you didn't know where she was? Her location. For 4 days, I did not know my baby was dead. For 4 days. Then, how did I find out? The watch commander gave me a number to the coroner's office. She died in their jail, but he gave me a number to the coroner's office. What kind of shit is that? How would you feel? The only child has been murdered, and then you have to find out by calling the number, not knowing the number you're calling. They just tell you, ma'am, I'm going to give you a number. You can call and ask for investigations. But when you dial the number, the other end answer, they say coroner's office. Everybody can just call. People can't remember looking like sorry about your luck, huh?
You really should be addressing her office.
Yeah,
I've been addressing her office for years. In a free country, some are guilty and everybody is responsible.
I'll be there too.
I am also leaving, and I would like to resign.
You please speak with Steve Little.
I'm gonna leave right now, but I've been expecting out there and hearing his story. And seeing that this woman has lost her child to violence by the state, and that Jackie Lacey was responsible for part of that, and she is not here to address that situation. Even though she was invited here to speak about something else, I think that as a representative of the city of Los Angeles, I also voted for her. I'm very disappointed to see that this is happening. I wish she had shown up to this event, and I think that you all need to reconsider as the chamber, who was at the beginning of this meeting, we talked about advocacy and supporting people in the community, right? I'm trying to start my own small business, and I don't want to be involved in a space where people like Jackie Lacey can come and speak freely as if she is supporting the community when she is not. So I just want to make that clear. And so many people have lost their lives. I think about stories that I've heard recently. Krishario Mack, a young man who was killed in the mall not too far from here, right? Shot in the back by police, and Jackie Lacey is now prosecuted as officers. I can't sit here and continue to be a part of this after hearing her story and then knowing that I am with child right now, my first child, and we need to reconsider who we're invited to speak at events that say that we support the community when that is actually not what's going on here.
Allow me the permission to kind of change the mood a little bit. Ladies, gentlemen, Steve Little, wherever you are. There we go. Thank you, sir. Allow me to present a string and a button. It's something simple, accessible. You might see it on the floor and just keep walking by. It's really not worth picking up. But let's put that aside for a moment and allow me to introduce myself. My name is Daniel Rangel. I'm a real estate agent. I'm with Coldwell Banker. I specialize in residential and residential income property. I've been a real estate agent for 7 years now, 8 years now. And if some of you guys are wondering, but he looks so small, he's just a boy, 7 years, how could that be? Unfortunately, I look younger than what I really am. But what separates me as a realtor is not that I started when I was 18 years old. It's not that I started during the worst economic crisis to hit the world. It's not that I've been at it for 7 years. What today separates me as a realtor comes from that one time that I didn't do real estate. When starting with $2, 2 monies, $2, and a simple, humble string and a button, I ended up crossing all of Latin America, from Mexico to Argentina, and then the US from San Diego to New York, taking pictures of everyone in the streets who supported and financed my travels in exchange for a simple string and a button. And the lessons that I learned from this experience that today make me a better realtor are encapsulated in 2 TEDx talks that I did. One in Mexico in Spanish and one here in the US. In the first talk, I spoke on the subject of sales. Something that is at the core of what it means to be a real estate agent. And then this talk, I answered the question, what were the key sales ingredients that allowed me to convince close to 10,000 people in the streets of over a dozen countries to support and finance my travels in exchange for a simple string and a button? You're probably thinking, master manipulator, con artist, surely he fooled people. The answer, the key ingredients, go against the common stereotype of what many people think that it takes to succeed in sales. The 4 key ingredients that I identified: respect, honesty, humility, and curiosity. Respect, honesty, humility, and curiosity. All the
Jackie
ingredients.
Lacey has shown none of that when she refuses to prosecute officers who killed people. She has done none of that when she refuses to prosecute officers who killed Christopher DeAndre.
I'm sorry to hear that. I'm sorry to hear that, and unfortunately, I have no association with her.
Over
From my
540
purest
people have been
respect.
killed in LA County alone by
This is
police
not the
officers.
appropriate venue for your
There is no
feelings.
appropriate venue as
This
far as
is-
she's
this is
concerned.
not the
She
venue.
refuses to address
Go
the
talk to
families.
her. Go talk to
She
her.
refuses to address the
Go talk to
families.
her.
She refuses to address the families.
We can't help you.
She refuses to do
But we can't help
anything
you.
about any of this.
There's nothing we can do.
You can do something,
No,
you
you
cannot
can't.
support her.
I'm not supporting her. We're here listening to
By
the
virtue
gentleman
of being
talk
here,
about-
you are
No,
supporting
we're not.
her.
No.
By virtue of having her here,
She's not
you are
here.
supporting her.
She's
I
not
don't
here.
know
She's
who
not-
she is. I have no idea. who
You're-
she is.
I will explain to you, Jackie
No, you don't
Lacey is
need
the
to.
DA of LA
No,
County.
I'm coming here to listen to this
Time for you to
gentleman
go.
speak.
It's time for you to go.
Jackie Lacey is
It's
the
time
DA of
for you to
LA
go.
County, and 540 people have been killed by the police in the last 6 years alone, and she has prosecuted 1 officer. 1.
What does that have to do with Rangel or Rangel?
Well, what if I showed up to one of your events and started screaming about something, being disrespectful? How would you feel about that?
It's
How would you feel about that?
It
No.
is disrespectful.
How would you feel
It is
if I showed up
disrespectful
one
to
of
the
your
families.
events
You
and
are
started
upset
talking
be-
about something?
You are
that
upset
nothing to do
because
with
your
you?
agenda is being disrupted. I'm upset because lives are being disrupted. Let's
Go
keep
talk
things
to
in
her.
perspective.
Go talk to her.
This is trivial in
Go
comparison.
talk
Let's
to
keep
her.
things in perspective. I want a refund.
So we have to
Get a
find
refund.
another way.
I want a refund.
So have to get a refund.
I want a refund. Jackie Lacey is supposed to show up and she did not show
Can you
up.
refund my money for?
I would like a refund, please.
Can I have your organization refund my money, please?
I would like to know your money too. Can you refund?
Can you refund $535?
No, I'm not talking about that.
Okay.
You refund my money, and then we'll talk about the life.
Extremely fascinating. After speaking to all of these people and these perceptions that we have sometimes, or stereotypes of what it takes to sell, to finally come to this realization, what really works: respect, honesty, humility, and curiosity. And those are ingredients that I heavily value and bring to my real estate career today. In the second talk, I spoke on the subject of creativity, or what I called the philosophy of the string and the button. This idea that despite having little, if we're creative, we can go far with something as simple as a string and a button. For me in real estate, that means seeing beyond industry standards, being creative as a marketer, as a negotiator, not just seeing a piece of paper, not just seeing a purchase offer, but seeing these things in a different light, in a creative light. And ladies and gentlemen, using that to conquer the dreams of my clients. Now, before I finish, I have a test for you guys. And before I go into this test, the string and the button, what happened to it? Where'd it go? So it started off in the streets. I got all these supporters. It eventually turned into a brand, a business with the social cause of helping people in marginalized communities in Latin America. While that project is currently now on hold, that social cause continues through my career as a real estate agent, in that 10% of my net commission goes to a social cause of my client's choice under their name. So the tax deduction is not mine, it's theirs. With that being said, the test, who can remember one of the key sales ingredients? Curiosity. You, my friend, earned a journal, a great book journal. This journal I developed with a shoe copper in Latin America, which was one of the first products once to be sold in about 40 stores throughout Latin America. It was born from the idea that I wanted to start living the life that I would one day like to read in a book. This is for you, my friend. You have another journal? Honesty. And this goes to you, my lady.
Thank you,
There
sir.
you go. And to finish off, I would like to highly encourage you guys to check out my website, to follow me on Facebook, on YouTube. You can find me on all those platforms as the Artist of Real Estate. And I'll finish off with, there is the art of business, ladies. There is the art of real estate, but where is the artist? My name is Daniel Rangel, better known as the Artist of Real Estate. Thank you.
I was also here to see Jackie Lacey.
Hey, get a refund. Get a refund. Go get a refund. Tired of interrupting us. Get out. Get a refund.
Something very
It's time for
important
you
to
to
say.
no. We can't help you.
The person
We
that
can't help
was
you.
here-
Go get a refund and get out.
First of all.
No, we're here business people trying to conduct business.
First
You have
of
no
all-
right to be here to interrupt us. Get a refund, Steve. Can you get a refund?
Misogyny isn't needed, all right?
Get a refund.
First of
Get
all,
out.
AJ Weber was the person whose name I was here to uplift. He was a 16-year-old murdered on
We can't
Super
help
Bowl
you.
Sunday.
We can't help you.
You
Where do you
absolutely
go?
can.
We
First
can't
of
help
all,
you. We can't help you.
your chamber
Go
is
talk to-
complicit
go
because
talk
you
to
invited
Lacey.
Lacey to be here.
Under-
Second of
Separate-
all,
separate
every
issue.
single week
Nothing for
is
you.
absolutely the same.
No.
Every
You're
single
wasting my
week.
time.
If you let me finish,
No.
then I will kill
No,
that.
I don't want to hear you.
Out.
We have other things to
You
do.
don't care about this murder of 530 black and brown people.
Get
I
out.
was told here that I was being complicit.
You came here on false pretenses. That's fraud. Get out.
No.
Get a refund.
There's a better way.
Get
As
a
I was
refund.
saying, AJ Weber,
Go get a refund, please.
Get out of here.
my father,
Yeah, see?
shot
You can
in
get
the
out.
back at close range. And
We
the
can't help you.
That many of you who I was speaking to this morning.
Streaming device. And you have the opportunity to see this gentleman's TED Talks, uninterrupted, unedited, and him as the center point of the stage. What could be a better thing? Now, you might have some questions for him today, and we do have some time. Daniel, if you're open.
Wait, hold on. Is there anyone else that wants to interrupt? Get out. Just get out now. Sick of it. You're wasting my time. Anybody else who wants to have a little moment?
No, they're gonna wait. So, but anyway, let's refocus. We have our breakfast sponsor here. He's willing to answer a couple of questions. And we have our other guests so that we can get into the rotation. It has been very disruptive to what we're trying to do here today, but let's put on our best face and move forward. So, do we have any questions for Daniel?
And the crowd goes, well.
Yeah, exactly.
What are some of your techniques you use to get people interested in a house that maybe they weren't necessarily interested in the beginning, but you brought them around to a particular property?
Yeah, absolutely. And that's where the slogan or the name, the artist of real estate, comes into play. One thing that I found extremely fascinating, going back to the string and the button, I mean, in itself, it has no real tangible value. A lot of real estate agents or a lot of people are focusing, oh, these are the comps, this is this, these are the statistics. What if you had no comps? What if there was no reference points? What if through intangible value, whether it be through staging, presentation, photography, and storytelling, adding that intangible value to the property where you're actually removing the comparables and allowing more flexibility to actually increase the value. But I'll give you some examples, like I'll do things like virtual staging. I had a client that was on a budget, couldn't afford the actual staging on the property, and what we did, I just got a graphic designer. I was trying to show you some pictures, but got a graphic designer. They staged it virtually. They removed everything that was there. Instead of walking into maybe disorganized place in every room, we kind of set it up as a gallery. So I printed out these huge posters, put them on easels, gave out wine. People were able to walk around this gallery, focus on the potential of the property rather than the mess that was around it. So being creative, seeing things differently, and again, going back to seeing beyond the industry standards and how people see things. But I don't know if that kind of helps you out. But to me, that was fascinating about the string and the button. The value is not so much in the product itself, but in the perception as well. And that you can change by adding a cause to it, adding a bigger picture, adding a story, adding a purpose. Anything else? I know today I didn't really talk about real estate. This was my first opportunity to introduce myself to a lot of the chamber members. If you guys have any questions down the road regarding real estate, feel free to approach me.
My name is Alexandra Dadig. I am with Recall Eric Garcetti. I am a concerned citizen. I've worked for Nate Holden for 12 years, who was the LA City Councilman. His district was hardest hit in the LA riots. He also had the 10 Freeway Bridge collapse. And I archived 16 years of his history, which is how I learned about emergency management during a crisis. And fast forward to Recall Garcetti, we have 59,000 homeless people in the county of Los Angeles right now. We have over 36,300 in the city of Los Angeles. We had Measure Triple H enacted by voters funding $1.2 billion in bond money in November 2016, and Eric Garcetti ran on that measure. That $1.2 billion was, and if you read the ballot text, said at the time we had 26,000 homeless people. In 2016, we now have 36,300 and 21,000 were housed last year. Those numbers are a little fuzzy because some of those people are in fragile environments, and the LA Times did a review of those people. But we really have more than a 10,000 people increase since the bond measure was enacted. And we have taken a look at Triple H, and Triple H, it looks like they, from what we can tell, there's an audit pending. From what we can tell, not a single unit has been completed with that money. It has been used for construction, pre-construction, and administrative services. And we've had over 3,600 deaths on the streets of Los Angeles between 2015 and 2018. It is predicted by the CEO of the mission that there will be over 1,000 deaths this year. The environments on the streets of Los Angeles are extremely dangerous. We have had medieval diseases on our streets. And the inaction of the mayor is like he's prioritizing buildings and not people.
And we're extremely concerned about this, and we've asked to have him recall. Our online petition has over 26,000 signatures as of today. And we have an official petition that we're gonna get cleared for circulation on as soon as the city clerk approves it. Recallthealleymayor.com.
I'm here as a grieving parent who's here to uplift the name of a deceased child, but in a different manner. I'm a longtime resident of Westwood, second generation, well beyond 50 years. We had a child named Tommy who passed away about 16 months ago in his sleep. There's no violence, there's no recriminations. It was mysterious. He had chest pains, he went to the doctor, said he's fine, it's probably some growth, and he didn't wake up on April 17, 2018. We had, prior to that, we were an involved soccer family, and we knew there was no full-size athletic field in West LA. There's a small walk-in gated field there at Westwood Park, but what had been the field when they constructed Westwood Park had gone to seed. It's not maintained. The city doesn't maintain grass fields anymore, and all of the athletes have vacated that field years and years ago, so it's largely empty. So we knew when Tommy had tried to play there at 7 years old that field was no longer used, and he had to leave in his little clinic. So my wife had inspected it for a couple of years and talked to the city and learned that we'll build a synthetic turf field there. We would love it. We don't have the money. We're not going to maintain grass fields. We don't have the money to build a turf field, she said someday. Tommy passed 1,000 people in Westwood, showed up at his memorial, policemen, his barber at Oakley's, school teachers, hundreds of school children. He was a beloved kid. He played for both the professional youth teams in the town, the Los Angeles Galaxy and Los Angeles Football Club. We commenced raising money to build Tommy's field, and in 10 months we raised $1.2 million. While my wife designed with the planning, LA City Planning, and Councilman's Office, and the Recreation and Parks. It went for public comment, and we were met with a steamroller. The neighbors across the street from the park seized the narrative, promptly started talking about the beautiful green field. I don't know if any of you have seen that field. And the private soccer club, and the locks, and the gates, and all a giant campaign of misinformation. So we were blindsided. We're now recovering. And we've taken back the narrative for the honest gift to the city with no strings attached, that this full-size athletic field will be for children and families and free play. There's no encumbrance by any clubs or organizations. There's no locks, there's no gates, there's going to be a forfeit fence for dogs. And Westwood Rec Center, which does not have a full-size athletic field, and there's none in Westwood. There are schools. There's Emerson finally built one, and Uni High. There's no full-size athletic field where you can go out with your kids and play. We're contributing that to the city. I'm open for questions. I want the chamber support. We have thousands and thousands of supporters. We far outnumber the few opponents that remain. By the way, we've moved the field because the campaign for 3 months was to save our green space, which is that field which is not green, but who made that? They just wanted an empty space. So we said, okay, we'll move 4 tennis courts, so we'll be left with 4 of the underutilized 8. We'll move the basketball court to the east side of the park, and we'll build in what's largely already used athletic space. We presented the new plan, now it's whack-a-mole. We continue to get hit with different reasons, parking and this and that. We have tons of support from Recreation and Parks, we believe, from the City Council's office. And we're asking for your support via a letter that tells the city and the Recreation and Parks Commission that the West LA Chamber supports the field that will go into this park in our community and will bring in people. It'll be good for business. It'll be beautiful. And that's my opinion. And I would love to take any questions. No questions?
Just a slight update. The city moving the field closer to the tennis courts to veterans has allowed to keep some of the open space. And one of the holdups is the city refuses to promise the community that they won't build more stuff on that open space. Because the city would agree to leave what's left open. I think we come to take a resolution. And that's going to be council office, mayor, parks, and rec saying, whatever greenfield's left here, we're going to keep it that way forever.
I don't understand the linkage. Are you conditioning desiring our gift of a full field to the space that we walked away from to save it, to somehow there being a whole other movement to protect that space?
Well, what people are afraid of is that 2 years down the line, they're gonna take the green space that was left and use it for something else.
But my question is, do they want to block a full-size athletic field to be built there?
No, they don't wanna block it.
By linking it to demand to protect the space that
They
should be
just
replaced.
they want promise from the city that the green space that's left won't be taken over for bocce courts or pickle courts or something like that. They want to remain open. And if the city would agree to that, I think you can get your field built.
So there is a linkage. There's a
Yeah.
direct linkage, it sounds like. Yeah, I think that's kind of not nice. What happens to the field that we walked away from that we thought should be replaced as it's a mess? It's kind of not our business.
It sounds like a bigger conversation that
But
the
we're happy
city,
to use that
the
conversation.
mayor, the Parks and
Keep
Rec.
it open. We had to. For a year working on replacing it.
Well, we bring up some interesting points, and thank you for bringing
Thank you for that.
the attention to it in a letter that would support you. But there is time after the meeting today where we can have a little bit more discussion that you folks with me. I know there was another question, I want to acknowledge that, but I would like to continue us on schedule with all the festivities that we've had today.
I appreciate it. We don't get the other question. Okay.
No, we'll be able to.
Cool, thank you.
And we also have a representative from UCLA, Shay. Please, come, join us, give us an update on
ACA 14. Hi, my name is Jake Manduri. I'm with Government Relations at UCLA. And I'm here to ask for your support in opposing ACA 14. It's a constitutional amendment that would eliminate all contracting in the UC system. Let me give you some background on this. This is a legislation that's been pushed for the last several years and has been vetoed every single time by Governor Jerry Brown. The current governor, Gavin Newsom, expressed a high level of skepticism about this legislation. So the sponsors of the legislation are now pursuing a constitutional amendment that would not require the governor to sign off or allow him to veto. Basically, what the legislation does is UCLA and the entire UC system has a collective bargaining agreement with organized labor. As part of that agreement, we are allowed to contract certain specialized positions out. This would eliminate all contracted positions out of the collective bargaining agreement. We would not be allowed to negotiate with labor anymore about certain positions that could be contracted out and certain positions that could not be contracted out. The overall impact to the system would be $172 million. That would be a cost borne by the taxpayers and the students of California. UCLA alone has a very high number, 70 million in contracted labor. And believe it or not, that has nothing to do with, that's entirely because of three specific areas that UCLA has. One is the Ronald Reagan Medical Center. We have a huge amount of contracted labor in the Ronald Reagan Medical Center for specific needs. So on Saturday nights or Friday nights or holiday nights, when we expect that people will be out drinking or carousing, our emergency rooms staff up. We actually bring in contracted doctors, nurses, and security into our into our emergency rooms on those what we expect to be high volume evenings. And so that's something that we would not be able to do. We would actually, under this legislation, have to have all of this sort of specialized emergency room personnel fully employed 24/7, and they would just basically be sitting around, and then we could use them on on specific nights that we require them. Also, UCLA has a high number of athletic fields, most famously the Rose Bowl. All of everything you see at the Rose Bowl on a Saturday afternoon is done by contracted labor. The labor is tied to the Rose Bowl. They're specialized. They get the field the way that our football coach likes it. They get the field to the specifications of various other athletic events that occur at the Rose Bowl. They're specialized. They don't belong to us, and we have to contract out. Under this agreement, I don't know what we would actually do. We would have to somehow figure out how to basically hire them go into some sort of agreement that would be extremely complex and extremely expensive. All our athletic fields require very much specialized maintenance. In addition, UCLA operates 180 clinics, around Southern California area. All of these clinics require specialized contracted labor to clean because medical people who are medical cleaners are specialized. They know exactly what they're doing, and they work for us on a contract basis because we use them in a special way. And when they're not working for us, they contract out to other entities and other medical clinics as well. So this would destroy our flexibility. We would basically be forced to sort of figure out how to hire a large amount of medical cleaning staff, and they would be sort of sitting around when we weren't really needing them. Also when we do our dorm rooms, this is one of the biggest areas. When students move in and out of dorm rooms, we hire contracted labor to actually clean and paint the dorm rooms and all of that. That's basically 1 week of work that we have for specific contracted labor. According to this amendment, we would have to basically have that labor force sitting around for 51 weeks a year, and then we could only use them for that 1 week that we really need them. So that would also restrict their ability to get other work and other opportunities as well. So our basic sense is this is very poorly thought out legislation. Governor Jerry Brown agreed with us on this. Governor Gavin Newsom expressed a high level of skepticism about this. And so we're asking for people to help us in opposing this constitutional amendment. Does anybody have any questions about this? About why we are opposing this?
Would you give us the name of the amendment?
Yeah, ACA 14. It's by Lorena Gonzalez. It has not yet fully passed the California State Senate. But if it does, then it will end up on the ballot to be voted on by the voters of California. So we're just trying to get the information out that this is not the best way for us to proceed with this. UC is very pro-labor. We have 96% of our workforce is organized labor, and we deal with organized labor with a bargaining agreement, and that allows us to be flexible when we need contracted work.
Thank you.
Thank you very much. Thank you.
Appreciate you, and we do respect and value your input. You actually do help craft public policy, and the board and Ruth Van and everybody are not shy when they don't necessarily agree with the city, but it makes us a better place because you help craft good public policy. So I have certificates for all the outgoing board members before our great county assessor, Jeff Prying, swears in the new board. Maybe I can have Roosevelt come up and accept on behalf of everybody, and then I'll distribute it. Alham, why don't you come up too, and then I'll pass out the remainder to everybody else. I'll read it. It says, in recognition of your service to the people of Los Angeles, your dedication of heart and hand to the needs of friends, neighbors, and fellow members of our society, this certificate is a measure of your devotion and service to the people. Presented to you, and Alham. Thank you very much.
So, I'm just going to share a brief conversation with our assessor, Jeffrey Crank. He said, I had mentioned that it would be my inaugural MC for the West LA Chamber. He said, don't thank you. Thank you. With everything that's happened today, there's nowhere to go but upwards. But it is my pleasure to introduce Jeffrey Crank.
I was going to start off with a little joke about how tormentful it is to have to come to a 7 o'clock breakfast, but we certainly were not without a little bit of excitement this morning. So But if you want to really bring a little bit of a calmness to the event, bring up the county property tax assessor. I did want to say, in all seriousness, I wanted to commend our MC and our leadership. You know, the disruption today was really handled very gracefully, and this was a great example of democracy in action. Okay, they protested, gave them time, they had their chance to say what they had to say, and I think we all have probably thought about what they had to say and how the importance of that message. Unfortunately, we're not really in a position to do a whole lot, but we heard them, and they got to speak, and we're a little bit delayed, but I want to commend everybody for their patience and during those disruptions. I think it speaks very well of this organization and its leadership. I'm thrilled to be here again. I thank you for, the West LA Chamber is truly my favorite chamber because everybody seems to like me, and unlike the city of LA, they always agree with me. Shut up, see you later. I appreciate your the warm welcome that you always provide and continue to keep included in your affairs. Bruce Bay has become a very good friend and advisor to me during my tenure as assessor. Before I go into bring up our new officers to be installed, I just want to give a couple of quick notes about things going on in the assessor's offices, if I may. The culmination of my annual work ends on June 30th, to close the fiscal year. My primary job is to assess the value of all property in LA County. We do that on an annual basis, and we concluded that work June 30th. I am pleased to report that we have experienced the 9th year of consecutive growth in property values countywide. Property values countywide grew at 6.3% last year. That generated almost $100 billion in additional revenues for local government. LA County today is now worth assessed value of $1.6 trillion. And the work that we do at the assessor's office is critical for ensuring that the city, the county, and the school districts have the resources necessary to provide those vital services that we all rely on. It appears as though there are some slowdown. There are some indicators in the market that we all want to keep an eye on. One is that properties that are selling are sitting on the market for longer periods of time than they did a year ago at this time. The rate of growth of property values, while it's still increasing, it's growing at a lower rate than it was previously. Those could be indicators of a slowdown in the economy. I don't want to draw any conclusions, but the piece of the economy that my department is responsible for monitoring, those are normally indicators that we keep a careful eye on. So at the moment, though, people are still buying and selling, and values are going up. If you own property, it's good for you. If you're buying, it's a little bit harder. But with the real estate artist in the room, I'm sure you can squeeze a little bit out of a few smiles. It's my pleasure to be here to swear in the new board. I know that serving on the board of directors for a chamber is a lot of work, and I know it doesn't pay particularly well. But it's really important work. And if you ever think that the work that you do is invaluable, I want to tell you that the work is incredibly valuable. People like myself look to chambers for advice, to serve as a sounding board for policies, to determine whether they work or not, to build support for our initiatives. And we know that at the local level, sometimes it's very difficult without the input of the chamber to know what the community is thinking, what the priorities are, what you can endure from government policies and what you cannot endure. The West LA Chamber has done a tremendous job as an advocate, as a leader, and it's bringing businesses together to support one another. So this is important work, and I'm proud to be able to be here to be a part of this very special day. Our incoming officers, I'm not sure how you want to orchestrate this. Do you want everybody to come up and do a swearing-in ceremony, or stand at their chairs, or, so why don't we have everybody who's on the board come up, come and please stand in front of the head table and call your name. Our renewing president, Bruce Bay, Steve Little, Al Hamm, Steve Hogan, Chris Gray, Stanley Scott, Dr. William Malice, Philip Gabriel, Kim Vizcaya, Chris Connor, Nikolai Abramson, Nina Lubasser, Alash Hashemi, and Tanya Kikidjian. Did I get everybody? So we will now do the,
Ross, just turn sideways.
Oh, I didn't, wasn't on the list. If I didn't call you, you're off. That's right.
Yeah. I'm approved.
And if you would, please raise your right hand, and I'm going to ask you a question. When I'm done, you will answer I do or no. And you know, say no, you're not in. So, do each of you solemnly promise and swear that you will administer the office to which you have been elected to the best of your ability and judgment in conformity with the West Los Angeles Chamber of Commerce bylaws and the U.S. Constitution? And if you so subscribe, please say I do. I do. On behalf of the Chamber of Commerce, I declare that you are hereby installed as the 2019-2020 Board of Directors. Congratulations.